Daniel Green rubbed his temples as the Valerian representative droned on about reasonable resource allocations from Earth's mining operations. 3 years of these talks had led nowhere. The large conference room aboard Proxima Centauri orbital station felt increasingly suffocating with each passing minute. Furthermore, the blue-skinned alien continued, "We believe a mere 40% share of your water extraction would be more than fair, considering the protection the Confederation provides to your single-system species." Daniel glanced at his assistant, Lisa Chen, who gave him a subtle nod. They had discussed this possibility extensively. 3 years of demanded concessions with minimal returns. 3 years of thinly veiled threats disguised as diplomatic advice. 3 years was enough. "I believe we've heard enough," Daniel said, rising from his chair. The room fell silent. 26 representatives from the Galactic Confederation stared at him with their varied alien eyes. "Ambassador Green, we are not finished with today's proposals," said Sorlak, the head negotiator for the Confederation. His gray skin wrinkled around his 3 eyes. "Yes, we are," Daniel replied calmly. "Humanity has listened patiently for 3 years. We have offered fair trades. We have compromised on borders, on mining rights, and on technology sharing. But every compromise we make is met with 3 new demands. That is the nature of negotiation," Sorlak said with what passed for a smile in his species. Daniel closed his data tablet and placed it in his briefcase. "No, that is the nature of subjugation. Humanity remembers its own history too well to walk this path again. We would rather stand alone than kneel together." A ripple of translator chatter filled the room as the alien representatives processed his words. "You cannot be serious," huffed the Bolaran trade minister, her feathers flaring. "Your species needs this agreement." Lisa stood beside Daniel now. "As of this moment, humanity is withdrawing from these negotiations. Earth and all human colonies will operate independently until such time as the Confederation is willing to engage in truly equal discussions." The Drulk ambassador laughed, a wheezing sound through his breathing apparatus. "And how long do you think your single system can survive without Confederation trade routes? Without our protection?" Daniel smiled for the first time in days. "I guess we'll find out." He and Lisa walked toward the exit as the room erupted in outraged chatter. "This is simply an emotional human response," Sorlak called after him. "We expect you to return within the week when reason prevails." The doors slid shut behind them. In the corridor, Lisa let out a long breath. "President Montgomery will support this?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "She authorized the withdrawal 3 days ago. The Defense Secretary has already begun preparations." Their shuttle departed the station 2 hours later. Through the viewport, Daniel watched the gleaming Confederation ships that dwarfed human vessels. For now. 3 days later, Daniel stood in the Oval Office as President Laura Montgomery reviewed his report. "They truly believe we'll come crawling back," she said, setting down the tablet. "Yes, Madam President, they've become accustomed to species that cannot survive without their network." Defense Secretary Frank Nelson, a former admiral with a perpetual frown, joined them at the window overlooking the Washington Monument. "Project Phoenix is ready to implement on your order," he said. "Our ships can be retrofitted within 60 days. The lunar factories are already being converted." Laura looked between the 2 men. "The Confederation has existed for over 700 years. Hundreds of species, thousands of worlds. And they think we need them more than they need us. A common mistake in history," Daniel said. "Underestimating humans." "What about the potential backlash?" Laura asked. "They could blockade Earth." Frank's frown deepened. "They could try." Laura turned away from the window. "Begin the preparations. Quietly. We'll need every advantage when they realize we weren't bluffing." As Daniel left the White House, he looked up at the evening sky. Somewhere out there, the Confederation diplomats were laughing about emotional humans and their primitive outburst. They wouldn't be laughing for long. High Counselor Zirak swished his tentacles in amusement as he reviewed the report on the human withdrawal. "They lasted longer than I expected," he said to Velium, his longtime ally on the Confederation Council. 3 years before their emotional outburst, I had wagered on 2. The grand chamber of the Confederation capital sparkled with the light of 3 suns. 50 empty seats surrounded them, the other council members having little interest in the human situation. "Should we be concerned?" asked Nilara, a junior diplomat newly assigned to the council. Her green skin flushed darker with nervousness at addressing the senior officials. Zirak made the gurgling sound his species used for laughter. "About humans. They are a single-system species with limited technology. They will return when resources grow scarce. Their ships are primitive, their weapons ineffective, and their diplomacy childish," added Velium, brushing his feathered crest back. "We have seen this behavior from developing species before. But the reports indicate they've begun to restrict communication," Nilara persisted. "All non-essential personnel have been recalled to Sol system." A show of independence, Velium dismissed. "They're wounded, prideful. Give them a standard month, perhaps 2. They will return." Across the galaxy, in the crowded war room beneath Earth's North American Defense Command, Alan Carter delivered far different news. "Intelligence suggests the Confederation is preparing enforcement actions," the military attaché reported to the gathered Human Defense Coalition. "Nothing major yet. Likely a blockade to pressure us back to negotiations." General Samantha Wright nodded grimly. As expected, Captain Richards, status of the fleet. Susan Richards stood. At 42, she was one of Earth's most experienced space captains. The Defiance and our sister ships have completed initial readiness drills near Jupiter. My tactical officer Joe Martinez detected unusual energy signatures at the system edge yesterday. "They're watching us," Wright concluded. "Let them watch," said Carter. "They'll see exactly what we want them to see." Richards nodded. "My science specialist, Kate Williams, has developed a sensor screen that shows normal activities while we implement Phoenix Protocol." Out beyond Neptune's orbit, the Confederation scout ships maintained their distance. They recorded human vessels running standard drills. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening. The blockade ships moved into position along known human trade routes, ready to intercept any vessels attempting to leave Sol's system. But none came. 1 week passed, then 2. On the Confederation trade hub world of Keldara, Trade Minister Holfix received the latest reports with growing concern. Still no human ships attempting to break the blockade. He asked his assistant. "None, Minister. And our merchants report their warehouses filling with goods normally sold to humans." Holfix's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of distress. How long can they last without imported metals and rare minerals? His assistant checked the data. Our models suggested they would face critical shortages after 3 weeks. It has now been 5. Back on Earth, Patricia Rodriguez worked through another sleepless night. The military engineers team had taken over an entire underground facility in New Mexico. "The shield modifications are holding in simulation," she told Brandon Miller, the civilian specialist working alongside her. "But we need a full-scale test." Miller nodded, his eyes red from lack of sleep. "The prototype is ready on the Venture *. We just need clearance to run it." In orbit above Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon, a Krell inspection ship approached the human outpost. The militant Confederation species had volunteered to check on human activities. "Approach with caution," Commander Grell ordered his crew. "Humans are unpredictable when cornered." The Krell were surprised to find the outpost nearly deserted. Automated systems continued mining ice, but only a skeleton crew remained. "Where have they gone?" Grell wondered aloud. As their ship departed Europa's orbit, the sensor officer called out in alarm. "Commander, I'm detecting massive energy surges throughout human space. Multiple signatures, unlike anything in our database." Aboard the Defiance, Captain Richards watched the final preparations. Her ship, once considered primitive by Confederation standards, now housed technology that had never been deployed. "Status report," she called out. "Phoenix protocol complete," Joe Martins replied. "All ships report ready." Richards exchanged glances with Kate Williams. Both women knew what came next. "Inform Earth Command we are go for Phase 1, Richards ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy what humans do when backed into a corner." Patricia Rodriguez crawled through the narrow maintenance shaft of the converted cargo ship. Sweat dripped down her face as she adjusted the final power coupling of the shield generator. "How's it looking in there, Pat?" Brandon Miller's voice came through her earpiece. "Almost done," she replied, tightening the connector. "This is the last ship in the Jupiter fleet. Once we're finished, all 20 vessels will have the new tech." Rodriguez slid back out of the shaft and wiped her hands on her jumpsuit. The engine room looked nothing like it had 3 months ago. What was once standard human technology now incorporated elements that the Confederation had never seen used in this way before. "You know, they always assumed we were just copying their tech," Miller said, checking readings on his tablet. "They never realized we were improving it." Rodriguez smiled. "That's the advantage of being underestimated." Across the solar system, similar modifications were happening in secret. On Mars, underground factories churned out components that didn't appear in any Confederation database. In the asteroid belt, mining operations had shifted to extract metals normally considered worthless by Confederation standards. Admiral Henry Johnson stood in Earth Command's Situation Room, surrounded by holographic displays of human space. "Phoenix Protocol is at 87% completion," reported his aide. "Ahead of schedule." Johnson nodded. A lifetime in space defense had prepared him for many things, but never for a potential conflict with the entire Galactic Confederation. "And the Krell inspection ships?" he asked. "They've completed their survey of Europa and are withdrawing. Their sensors detected some energy fluctuations, but nothing they could identify." "Good," Johnson said. "How long until we're ready for Phase 2? 5 days, sir." Johnson turned to the central display showing Earth, beautiful and blue. 3 months ago, they had walked away from negotiations. Now they would show why that had been a mistake for the Confederation, not for humanity. "Alert President Montgomery. I want her to make the final call." In Confederation space, Surveillance Officer Telix was growing increasingly frustrated. His assignment to monitor human activities was proving more difficult than expected. "They're doing something," he insisted to his superior. "Power readings across their system have increased 30%, but we can't determine the source or purpose." Commander Vrax sighed. "The humans are simply trying to become more self-sufficient. Their pride won't let them admit they need us." "With respect, Commander, something doesn't add up. Their outposts are running with minimal staff. Where have all the humans gone?" Vrax dismissed him with a wave. "Likely recalled to their homeworld to conserve resources. Continue monitoring, but I expect they'll reach out to us within weeks." Back on Earth, President Laura Montgomery received Admiral Johnson's report in the White House Situation Room. Defense Secretary Frank Nelson stood at her side. "Every ship fitted, every outpost secured, every crew trained," Nelson summarized. "We are ready, Madam President." Laura studied the deployment plan. "The Confederation still believes we're struggling to survive without them." "Yes," replied Ambassador Daniel Green, who had joined the meeting. "My sources indicate they're already preparing concessions to offer us when we inevitably return to negotiations." Laura smiled. "And our new trading partners?" "The non-Confederation worlds are ready," Green said. "They've suffered under the Confederation's trade policies for generations. They're eager for alternatives." Laura took a deep breath. "Then it's time. Admiral Johnson, you have my authorization to proceed with Phase 2. Johnson nodded and sent the coded transmission to all ships. Aboard the Defiance Captain Susan Richards received the message. She gathered her bridge crew. "It's time," she told them. "We launch in 6 hours. Our target is the Ta-City system. Joe Martinez checked his tactical systems. Confederation presence. Heavy, Richards replied. But they're not expecting us. Not like this. Kate Williams looked up from her science station. The other teams. Launching simultaneously to 5 other systems, Richards said. The galaxy is about to learn that humans don't just walk away. We find another path forward. As the crew prepared for departure, Richards looked out at the stars. The Confederation had expected humans to come crawling back. Instead, humans were about to change the rules of the game entirely. Commander Trelk of the Confederation patrol vessel Vigilant was halfway through his meal when the alarm sounded. He rushed to the bridge, his food forgotten. Report, he demanded, settling into his command chair. Unknown ships have appeared at the edge of the Ta-City system, his sensor officer replied. 6 vessels. Configuration. Wait, they're human ships. Trelk blinked his 3 eyes in surprise. Human. Impossible. Their drives can't reach this far. The main screen showed the approaching vessels. They were clearly of human design, but moved with a speed and grace the human ships had never displayed before. Open communications, Trelk ordered. The screen shifted to show a human female in a dark uniform. This is Captain Susan Richards of the Earth, ship Defiance *. We are entering Ta-City for trade purposes. Trelk straightened his uniform. Captain Richards, you are in violation of Confederation space. Your presence here is impossible without our drive technology. Richards smiled slightly. Yet here we are. I suggest you adjust your understanding of what's possible. You must stand down and return to Sol immediately, Trelk ordered. We attempted negotiation, Richards replied. Now we will trade on our terms or not at all. The connection ended. Trelk turned to his tactical officer. Alert Confederation Command. Request reinforcements. These humans have somehow acquired restricted technology. Across Confederation space, similar scenes played out as human ships appeared simultaneously in 6 different systems. The response was immediate. Confederation defense fleets mobilized to intercept the human vessels. In the Epsilon Eridani system, Lieutenant Eric Porter commanded a small group of 3 human ships. His orders were clear: demonstrate capabilities, avoid casualties. Confederation vessels approaching. His tactical officer reported. 8 ships, heavy weapons charging. Porter nodded calmly. Activate Phoenix shields. Prepare for demonstration. The lead Confederation ship fired a warning shot across their bow. The energy blast should have disabled the human ship systems. Instead, it dissipated harmlessly against a shield unlike anything the Confederation had seen before. No damage, reported Porter's systems officer with a grin. Shields holding at 100%. The Confederation ships fired again, this time directly at the human vessels. Each shot was absorbed by the glimmering shields. Their weapons have no effect, sir, the tactical officer said. Porter nodded. Now it's our turn. Target their propulsion systems, minimal power. We're making a point, not starting a war. Back in Ta-City, Captain Richards' fleet faced the largest Confederation response. 12 warships surrounded the human vessels. Final warning. Came the message from Confederation Admiral Zex. Power down or be destroyed. Richards looked at her crew, then nodded to Joe Martinez at Tactical. Deploying countermeasures, Martinez announced. Small drones launched from the Defiance *, moving faster than the Confederation tracking systems could follow. They attached to the hulls of the Confederation ships. What is this? Demanded Admiral Zex as his ship's power systems suddenly went offline. One by one, the Confederation vessels drifted powerless. As I said, Richards replied over the emergency channel. We will trade on our terms. Your ships will regain power in 6 hours. Plenty of time for you to report to your superiors. Across all 6 systems, the pattern repeated. Confederation forces found their weapons ineffective against human shields. Human countermeasures disabled Confederation ships without causing permanent damage or casualties. In the Confederation capital, the reports caused chaos. Impossible, High Counselor Zirak shouted, his tentacles writhing in agitation. How did they advance so quickly? Junior diplomat Nilura reviewed the incoming data. Sir, I don't think they advanced quickly. I think they were holding back during negotiations. But why? Asked another council member. To see how we would treat them, Nilura replied quietly. And we failed the test. On Earth, President Laura Montgomery received the first reports with a mixture of relief and satisfaction. No casualties on either side. Defense Secretary Nelson confirmed. The demonstration was successful. And Phase 3? Montgomery asked. Ready to begin, Ambassador Green replied. Our trading outposts are prepared. Montgomery nodded. The Confederation thought we walked away because we were weak. Now they'll learn we walked away because we were strong enough to stand on our own. News of the human technological leap spread through Confederation space like wildfire. On the trade hub world of Caraxus, merchants watched their profits plummet as ships changed course for newly established human trading posts. Another 40 vessels diverted to the human station at Procyon, reported a Valerian trade official. Our warehouse capacity is at 80% and rising. In the Grand Council chamber, the Confederation leadership gathered in full for the first time since the humans walked away from negotiations. All 50 seats were filled, a rare occurrence that highlighted the severity of the situation. How did we miss this? Demanded Councillor Velium, his feathered crest flattened against his head in distress. Their technology was primitive just months ago. Nilara, the junior diplomat, who had first raised concerns, stepped forward with data in hand. With respect, counselors, their technology was never primitive. They simply never revealed their full capabilities during negotiations. Zirak's tentacles curled in anger. Deception. They were required to disclose all technological capabilities, just as the Confederation was required to offer fair terms. Nilara asked quietly. The chamber fell silent. On Earth, Economic Advisor Maria Diaz presented the latest trade figures to the Human Coalition leadership. Our independent outposts have established direct trade with 14 non-Confederation species, she explained. Profits have increased by 60% without Confederation tariffs. President Montgomery nodded with satisfaction. And the military situation. General Nathan Jones activated a holographic display showing the locations of human defense satellites. We've deployed our autonomous defense grid at key points. Any aggressive action will be met with an appropriate response. The Krell seem determined to test us, added Admiral Johnson. Their military council is pushing for direct action. Montgomery frowned. We want trade, not war. Make that clear in all communications. Across the stars, smaller species watched the changing power dynamic with growing interest. The Narvali, long restricted from deep space travel by Confederation regulations, approached a human outpost near Epsilon Indi. Your people truly trade without demanding political allegiance, asked Narvali Captain Sorn to the human station commander. We trade with anyone willing to offer fair value, replied Commander Linda Powell. Your crystal matrices are worth far more than the Confederation has been paying you. Word of such exchanges traveled fast. More ships arrived each day, bypassing traditional Confederation routes to deal directly with humans. In the Arcturus system, the Krell launched their promised attack. 3 warships targeted a small human trading post, expecting an easy victory despite the recent demonstrations. They were met by an automated defense system that disabled their weapons without firing a shot. The Krell ships hung powerless in space as a single human vessel approached. This is Captain Andy Nichols of the Earth Ship Challenger *. Your vessels will regain power once we've departed the system. Consider this a warning. The Krell commander, trapped on his bridge, watched helplessly as the human ship moved past at speeds his technology couldn't match. Back in the Confederation capital, economic advisors delivered grim news. Resource chains are disrupted across 17 sectors, reported Chief Economist Trell. The humans have established strategic positions that bypass our primary trade routes. How badly does this affect us? Asked a worried council member. If current trends continue, 30% of our member worlds will face economic contraction within 3 months. Junior diplomat Nilara, recently promoted for her foresight regarding humans, studied the trade projections. The humans aren't just trading, she realized. They're systematically targeting the weakest points in our economic network. Zirak, now facing criticism for his dismissal of the human threat, pounded his tentacles on the table. We must respond with force. Show these upstarts their place. Our initial military response failed. Another counselor pointed out. Their technology exceeds our current capabilities. Then we negotiate, suggested Nilara. Negotiate. From a position of weakness. Zirak sputtered. From a position of reality. Nilara corrected. We underestimated them once. Let's not make the same mistake twice. On the edge of human space, Captain Susan Richards watched as another convoy of non-Confederation ships approached Earth's newest trading station. They said we couldn't survive without the Confederation, she remarked to her first officer. Turns out, he replied with a smile, the Confederation might not survive without us. 8 months after walking away from negotiations, Diana Lee sat in her office at Earth's new diplomatic headquarters in Geneva. As Earth's diplomatic coordinator, her desk was covered with requests for alliance from 37 different star systems. Another one from the Tellarites, her assistant said, placing a datapad on her already crowded desk. That makes 5 requests from them this month. Diana sighed. They were among the loudest critics when we withdrew from talks. Amazing how an economic downturn changes perspectives, her assistant replied with a smile. The view from Diana's window showed a city transformed. New buildings with alien architectural influences stood alongside classical structures. In the harbor, ships from a dozen worlds unloaded exotic goods that had been prohibitively expensive under Confederation tariffs. Her comm unit chimed. Ms. Lee, the President is ready for your briefing. In the Oval Office, President Montgomery listened as Diana outlined the latest developments. The Volari are leading a faction of 17 Confederation species who wish to open direct negotiations, Diana explained. They're facing significant pressure from the hardliners, but their economies can't sustain the current situation. Defense Secretary Nelson added, our intelligence suggests the Confederation's trade volume has decreased by 40%. Several member worlds are threatening to leave their union entirely. Montgomery nodded. And our position? Strong and getting stronger, Diana replied. Our trading network now spans 37 systems. The technology exchange has been beneficial for all parties. Outside Earth's orbit, veteran pilot Ryan Cooper guided his ship toward a Confederation border world suffering under new restrictions. His cargo hold contained medicine and food supplies. Beginning descent to Lyric's colony, he informed Earth Control. Humanitarian mission proceeding as planned. The colonial governor greeted Cooper's ship personally. The Confederation cut our supply lines when we voted to trade with humans, she explained. They thought we would surrender within weeks. Cooper's crew unloaded the critical supplies. Earth doesn't abandon friends, he told her simply. Back in Confederation space, the Krell military commander slammed his fist on the table. Weakness, he shouted at the gathered Confederation representatives. Humans deploy their ships throughout our territory, and you do nothing. Diplomat Nilara remained calm. They deploy trading posts, not military bases, and they are not in Confederation territory, but in neutral or independent space. Their defense capabilities make the distinction meaningless, the Krell commander insisted. High Counselor Zirak, fighting to maintain his position after months of failure, raised his voice. We must take decisive action. I propose a direct strike at their home system. Silence fell across the chamber. Finally, the Volari representative stood. The Volari withdraw from any such action, he stated firmly. Furthermore, we and 16 other worlds will begin independent negotiations with humans if the Council pursues this course. On a neutral space station named Harmony, built through joint effort at the edge of human space. Chief Negotiator Olivia Bennett prepared her team for the upcoming talks. Unlike last time, we set the terms for these discussions, she reminded them. The Confederation representatives arrive tomorrow. They come as equals, not superiors. Her aide approached with a message. Ambassador Green is on his way. He's offered to advise during the negotiations. Bennett smiled. The man who walked away. Fitting that he should be here when they come back to us. In Earth's Lunar Defense Center, military planner John Pearson coordinated with representatives from 5 alien species who had aligned with humanity. The Mutual Defense Protocol is simple, he explained, pointing to the holographic display. Any attack on a member world triggers a unified response. A blue-skinned Arcturian nodded appreciatively. For centuries, the Confederation claimed to offer protection while actually controlling us. This is true protection. In deep space, a small group of hardline Confederation ships gathered for an unsanctioned mission. Their target, Earth itself. The humans must be taught their place, the mission commander told his crew. This single strike will remind the galaxy of Confederation supremacy. As they approached the Sol system, they encountered an invisible barrier. Their engines failed. Weapons went offline. Life support remained the only functioning system. A message played across all their communication channels. This is Earth Defense Network. Your unauthorized approach has been detected. Your ships will be towed to neutral space. Further incursions will be met with increasing consequences. In Geneva, Diana Lee received the report of the attempted strike with a calm expression. Should we inform the Confederation leadership? Her assistant asked. No need, Diana replied. Let's see if they admit it themselves during tomorrow's negotiations. It will tell us much about their sincerity. The Harmony space station gleamed against the backdrop of stars as shuttles from dozens of worlds docked at its ports. Chief Negotiator Olivia Bennett watched from the observation deck as the Confederation delegation arrived. Their ships were impressive, but no longer intimidating. Quite different from our last meeting, said a familiar voice behind her. Bennett turned to see Daniel Green, the ambassador who had walked away from the original negotiations. I wasn't sure you'd come, she said. Green smiled. I wouldn't miss it. Though I admit, I never expected to be negotiating from a position of strength. The main conference room of Harmony Station was a marvel of multi-species design. The circular table had no head, emphasizing the equality of all participants. Bennett took her seat as the Earth representative, with Green standing behind her as advisor. The Confederation delegation was led by Nilara, now promoted to senior diplomat. Several council members, including Zirak, had been forced to resign as the economic crisis deepened. Welcome to Harmony Station, Bennett began. Let me be clear about our expectations. Unlike previous negotiations, we have preconditions that must be met before detailed talks can begin. Nilara nodded respectfully. We are prepared to listen. Bennett activated a display showing trade routes throughout the galaxy. First, the Confederation must acknowledge the right of all species to establish independent trade relationships without penalty. A murmur ran through the Confederation delegates. Second, Bennett continued, the practice of requiring technology transfers without fair compensation ends today. These demands would fundamentally alter the Confederation structure, protested one delegate. Yes, Bennett agreed simply. That's the point. From his position behind Bennett, Green observed the shifting expressions of the alien representatives. Some showed anger, others resignation, and a few, particularly those from worlds that had already begun independent trade with humans, showed clear relief. The Confederation has existed for 7 centuries, said a Drulk representative. You expect us to change our fundamental structure based on the demands of a single species. Bennett smiled. Not at all. I expect you to change based on the unified demands of the 37 systems, now trading independently, the 17 Confederation worlds threatening to secede, and the growing recognition that your economic model is unsustainable. She activated another display, showing evidence of Confederation exploitation across multiple worlds. Resource extraction without fair payment. Technology appropriation without compensation. Military protection that serve mainly to enforce compliance. This isn't just about humans, Bennett said. It's about a system that has been unfair to countless species for centuries. On the far side of the galaxy, John Pearson conducted a different sort of negotiation. The military planner sat with representatives from 12 species, finalizing the mutual defense protocols that would protect their newly independent trade alliance. If the Confederation refuses to change, said the Arcturian military chief, conflict becomes more likely. Are Earth's forces prepared? Pearson nodded. We hope for peace but prepare for all possibilities. Our defensive grid now extends to all major trade hubs. Back on Harmony Station, the negotiations continued for hours. Green watched with quiet pride as Bennett systematically addressed each Confederation concern while never wavering on the core principles. During a break, Nelara approached Green privately. I warned them, she said quietly. When you first walked away, I told the Council not to dismiss humans so easily. Green nodded. Why did they ignore you? 700 years of being the dominant power, she replied. It breeds a certain blindness. And now? Green asked. Now they see. Nelara looked around at the diverse species mingling in the conference room. Though some see more clearly than others, the hardliners still believe this is a temporary setback. Like the ships that try to attack Earth? Green asked casually. Nelara's eyes widened. You know about that. We know many things the Confederation believes are secret, Green said. That's another lesson some still need to learn. As the delegates returned to their seats, Bennett received a message from Earth. She smiled as she read it, then addressed the gathering. I just received word that 5 more Confederation worlds have formally requested to join our trading alliance, she announced. They will be sending representatives tomorrow. The Confederation delegates exchanged alarmed glances. Their negotiating position was eroding by the hour. Perhaps, suggested Nelara, we should move directly to discussing the framework for a new type of galactic cooperation. Bennett nodded. That would be wise. From his place at the back of the room, Green caught her eye and smiled. The humans who had walked away were now the ones being courted. One year after walking away from negotiations, Earth had transformed. The Geneva Peace Accord, signed 3 months prior, had established a new galactic framework. The Confederation had reformed into the Galactic Cooperative, with humans as key founding members. Dr. Claire Foster stood in her new laboratory aboard the research station Unity *, watching teams of scientists from 12 different species working side by side. As head of the first truly multi-species research initiative, she supervised projects that would have been impossible under the old system. The Arcturian quantum theory meshes perfectly with our particle models, her assistant noted. Together, they solve problems neither of us could address alone. Claire nodded. That's the point of real cooperation. Everyone brings their strengths. On Earth, the spaceports were busy with traffic from 100 worlds. Cultural exchanges flourished as humans eagerly learned from their new allies and shared their own rich heritage in return. In Washington, D.C., President Laura Montgomery prepared for the anniversary address. She reviewed her notes as Ambassador Daniel Green entered her office. Hard to believe it's been only a year, she said, looking up from her desk. Green nodded. Sometimes the best path forward requires a step back first. The Krell delegation has finally arrived, Montgomery noted. I was surprised they agreed to attend. Military defeats tend to clarify one's thinking, Green replied with a slight smile. After their third failed attempt to challenge our defense grid, even they recognize the futility of resistance. At the ceremony held in the rebuilt United Nations headquarters, representatives from over 100 worlds gathered to mark the anniversary. The massive chamber hummed with translation devices as species of all forms mingled. Olivia Bennett, now serving as Earth's representative to the Galactic Cooperative Council, took her place on the stage alongside former Confederation diplomat Nilara and leaders from 30 other major worlds. President Montgomery approached the podium. The room fell silent. 1 year ago, humanity made a difficult choice, she began. We walked away from negotiations that would have bound us to an unfair system. Many thought we would fail. Some predicted our destruction. None imagined we would be standing here today. She gestured to the diverse gathering before her. We did not seek to replace one unfair system with another. We sought balance, equality, true cooperation. The Galactic Cooperative now stands as proof that different species can work together without domination. In orbit above Earth, Captain Susan Richards watched the ceremony from the bridge of the Defiance *. Her ship, once considered a primitive vessel by Confederation standards, now served as a training ground where alien officers learned alongside humans. The Valeri engineering team has integrated their shield harmonics with our systems, her first officer reported. Efficiency is up 20%. Richards nodded. Send my compliments to their chief engineer. Across the galaxy on a former Confederation core world, Trade Minister Holfix watched his warehouses fill with goods from human space and beyond. The new trade agreements had initially seemed like a bitter pill, but now his world prospered as never before. We feared change, he told his assistant, when we should have embraced it. Back on Earth, as the ceremony concluded, Dr. Foster demonstrated the latest breakthrough from the Unity Research Station. A small device activated, creating a field that allowed instantaneous translation between any of the attending species. This technology belongs to all of us, she explained. Developed together, shared together. As the day ended, Ambassador Green stood at the window of his office, looking up at the stars that now seemed much closer, much more welcoming than before. Diana Lee joined him, carrying 2 glasses of champagne. To walking away, she toasted, and finding a better path forward, Green added. Outside, ships from dozens of worlds moved in harmony through Earth's orbital lanes. The human defense grid remained active, a quiet reminder of the strength that had made this peace possible. President Montgomery concluded her address with words that would be remembered for generations. Our strength was not in our technology, but in our refusal to accept inequality as inevitable. Sometimes you must be willing to walk away to find the right way forward. Humanity stood alone when necessary, so that today, none of us have to stand alone again. The Galactic Cooperative was still young, still finding its way. Challenges remained, but across the stars, species that had once lived under the shadow of Confederation control now looked to the future with hope. All because humans had been willing to walk away.